tradition already, I want to light this beautiful incense in the name of peace.
Number 177. How many done already?
Hello, dear Estas.
Hello, dear Julichka.
Here we are, finally arriving.
Just going.
Finally arriving to the moment. And yeah, I cannot tell you how much I'm excited to finally meet you in this space. I mean, we know each other for so many years, and you've been actually one of the first people who showed me the body graph. I remember you had it in the phone and you were looking at it, and it looked just so weird. What is that? What is that thing?
Telephones are weird. You know, what is included into it? It's all weird anyway. Well, yeah. Yeah. One of those applications that I keep an eye on from time to time. But you just went another kind of leap, right? You just jumped into it, and I didn't because I have other tasks to deal with. We have many different tools to play with. So beautiful that you jumped into it. I see the enthusiasm, full enthusiasm. So, so here we are talking about it some few moments later.
Yeah, you never know how life is unfolding. And for me, it was a very slow journey because after you showed it to me and a few more people, it was kind of growing and growing. And I was so suspicious about human design. To me, it looked in the beginning just like one more thing. Who are these people to tell me who I am and how to live and what to do about it? And in time, in the experimenting with that information, it kind of showed the endlessness of it. So, I actually, we never ever talked about this moment, how you met the system. Do you even remember how it happened? And what was that click that made you even look at that direction for a moment of your life?
Well, let's start first of all that I'm not in the system. I observe the system, but I'm not in the system. I don't practice the system, but from time to time, you or somebody else would come up and give some reflections about the system, so to say, but I'm not in it. It's not, I cannot even discuss that because that's not my language. I have other languages which I am exploring more in detail.
Which are beyond words.
Which are beyond words as well as words. Sure, words. There are quite many words, especially nowadays. Because, writing is another chapter I'm exploring currently, right? So that's my kind of universe, right? So yeah, for me happened that some years ago, there was a beautiful friend of a friend. She introduced me to the design. She just did the chart. And then she kind of gave me the download. She shared the download. And you probably know from the design experience that it takes years to explore the download. So I'm just exploring the download. And then many downloads coming around because I also use my language, what I'm exploring. And then I don't even know if I need to align myself really with every tool that comes around. Just as the dream spell Mayan calendar came to into my life 17 years ago, through Valera, and I also kept an eye on it, and I still do sometimes, but I'm not in it. It's a beautiful tool, just as the human design as well. But if you dive into it, of course, you see all the pathways and these incredible cosmic highways, right? But that's for you to explore, because everyone exploring what they need to explore. And somewhere we meet. And here we meet and we talk about it. That was my little detour about this conversation.
You know, I just remember when I already been quite a few years in the design, you were sharing your process at some point, and you just use this word, the call. I'm waiting for this call. I know there is a call to come. And you being a 2-4 profile, yeah, the hermit, for whom the call is actually one of the main keynotes, keywords for your path. And seeing how your whole, basically your whole life story as a human being, as an artist, as a musician, as a creator, and now as a writer, you are following that call. Like, what is that call for you? How would you really describe it?
I mean, there are many calls daily, right? We have many, many different calls. And one of them is the call of the distraction. You know, we are distracted all the time from all kind of things. You know, and it looks like also it might be a call, but then it just could be a beautiful, another beautiful distraction on the path, right? And then I catch myself, where am I? And then I go back to the things that do matter in a way. I mean, nothing matters, but few things do. You know, so it's like I would give you an example. Like you know that I'm this crazy guy who writes diaries for ages, and no matter where I've been, let's say I've been in Brazil or I've been in Cuba, and I'm sitting there in this amazing place, but I'm thinking about the diary of that particular year because there is something there I need to revisit. I can do it through meditation. Anyone can do that through meditation. But there's certain things that were captured, you know, and sometimes it's just one line. You know, it just this one line was necessary that I somehow missed. I've written it down and I've missed it. You know, that's the paradox of it. You know, and that's maybe it's part of the call because we don't really know what the real call is for, right? Like this year I've been exploring the work of Menis Yusri, this beautiful psychologist who is a bit more than this. And he speaks about the traumas that we carry in, which are embedded in our creativity, but we are too busy to give to it our attention. You know, and the whole point of revisiting it is to free ourselves from the load we are carrying, right? So there is part of a call which is a creativity itself, because out of a diary comes out a book, potentially, right? Or movie, potentially, or musical, potentially, or whatever it will be, potentially. Or maybe there would be nothing coming out of it. And this is just like my way to revisit certain parts of myself, so to say, right? To free certain load. You know, so yes, there is this creative writing right now in action, and there is some chapters are coming around, and I just need one few lines to out of those lines to create a whole chapter for a potential book. But I don't know. Maybe in the end I will just burn it. Maybe the whole process, that's what important. You know, that's what matters actually.
And that's what happened also with music pieces that you were
That's
creating
different
and
because
then not
if
releasing.
I mean,
And maybe,
if they are captured and they are online, that's different because I can delete it, but what is not in my hands, I cannot anymore. You know, there are hundreds of shares and everybody re-upload it, you know. It's almost if I want to delete the history of Estas Tonne from the internet, I would have to revisit every possible person that ever published anything with his face, you know, his sound, begging them, please delete that, which is ridiculous, you know. But with something that is still in my field, which was not released yet into the world, they have some sort of a potential to destroy it, but maybe not.
And that's that same call that I'm talking about, that you're waiting, maybe unconsciously, for that something to to click or switch. And
Well,
how
I'm
does it
waiting.
happen? How these releases? Because it already happened a few times with you, that you were kind of waiting for the material to go through the certain process and then bring it out. How does it
The
work?
thing, like we know about the phenomena of an empty cup or a full cup, right? So when you arrive to a certain place of your fullness in the way, you need to empty out, right? And okay, when I have this music sharing for almost 2 decades of doing this publicly, not in the studio,
Yeah.
publicly, fully on the streets, all over, it's that was the potential for the release constantly. And then when it became more of an organized story, then it has less potential for the release of the load, right? So that's already like, how do I do that in this condition, especially today? Because I'm not a home guy. I'm not a guy playing in for the walls. I'm not. That's not my scene. Yes, I've done this like 1.5 stream recently, but it's not exactly my scene. And I kind of had to figure like, what are the other ways? Not just the music. Of course, I'm playing here alone as well. It's not just that I need the
And
crowd.
so I just want to make sure, when you say I need to figure, how is how exactly this process of figuring out things happens with you.
So for the moment, that's yoga, that's qigong, that's meditation, that's also playing, but not using the playing itself as a tool, as the only tool, which actually was most of the time for years. In those street years, I would do like 360 concerts in a year, for the street years,
Not
so
for 1 year, for many years.
for many years. And what I'm calling a street, it was a concert on the street, you know. It was not just like trying to sit somewhere in the corner. It was like a full experience, right? And I've learned how to do that, but that was my also meditation, also money machine, also meeting people machine. It was everything into one thing. Also release as well. All the emotions that we are carrying with us throughout life, that was the release, and then when this tool is not available anymore, when it happens just from time to time, when it's organized, then individual has to figure how to do that on a daily basis, not just like be kind of dependent on certain organization of a concert, right? So the calling, it's not just like waiting for certain something to happen. It actually being the calling. It's like I could wait another 10 years to start writing, and revisit all those diaries, but I just jumped in. I do it now pretty much every day, apart from other things, right? All the madness of the studio, which is never finished and never complete, is that's my life story. Nothing is ever complete or finished. Yes, it's kind of cycles there are present there. Of course, I can see them, but it's always a work in progress.
Hmm. Yeah, when I started studying the profiles, and I meant the 2-4 profile, the heretic and the opportunist, your story was in a way like an epic example of that, because this combination of waiting for the call somewhere in the cave on the one hand, and on the other hand being so connected to this network of people, and moving in between, going into your aloneness, hearing that music that comes out of you in that aloneness, but bringing it through the network, when in the network. And in the way I see that your guitar is the thing that kind of keep keeps you in your space and keeps your aura protected, and at the same time lets you be safe around people. It's my own interpretation of how I see your journey, yeah, from outside, from this perspective of this tiny particle, this one little layer of human design. And it's always been really beautiful to watch how you organically combine these two creatures in one.
I'm actually curious about when you say the call, because what you mean by that is that the 2-4 is the one who actually hibernates, right? Like sits in the cave, the caveman, and then comes the call, which he reacts to go into the world, right? To be the opportunist in a way, right? So, like if I look through the diaries and also the memory,
and not just comes out to influence the network. Yeah, so it's not just this aimless coming out, it's always coming out with what I've been called for or called to.
but we can do the misinterpretation, right? Because we think sometimes that the calling must come from some sort of external source, right? Is
The
that?
interpretation here is always very unique and individual, and that's the beauty of human design, that we have a keynotes. Yeah, we have these words that activate this something within you that brings up this knowledge, instant knowledge. But then when you trying to decipher it and interpret it, it always comes out in so many different ways. And that's why here I shared my interpretation, yeah, based on your story.
I mean, we can
watching
take,
your process.
let's say we can take an example, right? Last night I was writing one of the chapters um, based on the real life event, so to say, whatever real life is. And let's say there was a calling, right, for a guy to go from A to B. In this case, Estas felt a calling to go from New York to Los Angeles, right? But it was not the case that someone called him there. It was his calling, because when he made actually a literally phone call to Los Angeles to the only guy he knew at that time there, that guy was trying to convince him that it's a stupid idea because Stas didn't know the language, he was illegal, he had no money, he had no bank, he didn't have a name as Stas either at that time also, right? So, so the guy was kind of convincing him that this is not really a good idea. What you gonna do here? Why are you gonna come here? And so and so and so, right? But that calling was in me, if I whatever I can say, the I and the me, right? So it was from the inside calling. Could it be that I had to wait for this invitation? It could be also, right? It could be that somebody would call and invite the 2-4 profile, right? But it could be that the 2-4 profile knows that from inside, right? Because it was an incredible journey, not an easy one, outstanding journey. That basically that trip on the Greyhound bus for 3.5 days from New York to LA with $21 in my pocket arriving without anything there, anything else. That was the initiation in a way that took me on a whole crazy trip that I'm still on, right? But then when I look at the linear lifetime, there were many similar situations. And there were also many similar situations when I didn't dare to jump also. You know, why? Because the cup was full. It arrived to its kind of fullness and needed to be hermit. He needed to be hermit. And who knows how many years it will take. Miles Davis took 5 years off. Really? I don't know.
And for many people, it can sound ridiculous knowing and seeing how active you are socially, how exposed you are, and
I'm not.
being surrounded.
Not so active socially. I have a lot of beautiful people around me who are active socially. I'm not so much active socially. Not really. Not
And
much.
that's exactly what I'm saying, that it may be such an illusion of this persona that is created in this elusive pixel reality, yeah? And the actual 3D, let's say, when the body really needs to have its own space and to have its own time. And
I mean, over the years, of course, I had my time. Of course, I had from time to time stops, and I would go stay some remote places. But you know, when you're kind of in that environment of music sharing, right? And also when you have in your agenda under your belt, so to say, years of being public, and public means naked on the street because it's not a stage. You're just there in front of the people. There is nowhere to hide, nowhere to run. You know, if a crazy guy wants to come to you and say something stupid or something wise, you're right there.
and how does it feel?
At that time, it was amazing trip. Of course, it's incredible.
And now,
People come. There are all kind of people come. I mean, nowadays when there were organized tours, I would still always dedicate this time to meet with people. It's normally after the sound trip, I would go out there and stay with those people probably for another hour, averagely, right? Because that was the way to meet at least physically, not just being this persona on stage doing something, you know. Because again, I have this experience of the street, which is unforgettable, you know. And when you do that for a decade almost, it's a lifetime, many actually, you know, because sometimes I felt like every day was like a year for normal, whatever this normal is, people, you know. So the hermit time, it was needed already a long time, you know. That's why I've been sitting here since May 2019, before this whole global retreat started. You know, I've been already here, May 2019, doing little trips here there, but then I felt like this is it. I need my time. You know, hermit needs his time. So in that sense, yes, I resonate deeply with this two forward reflection, definitely.
yeah, and I'm not gonna go now into your actual body graph and analyzing and seeing. And sometimes as the time goes, and it's my 8 years that I'm working with the system and working as a full job analyst and child development analyst and family practitioner, and reading individual maps and couple maps and cycle maps. And it's beautiful to see people that I know that every year it's like reading Torah, in the Jewish tradition, they read Torah every year. And like you would think, why do they do that? Like you read the book, you got what is there, just go on with your life. But no, because every year you're getting wiser, and your inner wisdom is reflected in that book. So it
Hopefully,
actually makes you wiser, so to say. That's at least that's something that worked for the previous cycles. It doesn't really work for now, yeah. But why am I bringing that example? It's kind of a metaphor, because I'm looking at the body graphs of people I know, and every year it looks deeper and deeper and deeper. And I kind of can feel you and feel myself deeper just through looking at that image and understanding, deciphering it, and seeing how it works in life. And for me, that is the beauty of, yeah, knowing people that I know, that I love, that I connect with through the system, which kind of expands my personal experience and makes it even deeper. And of course, when there is some kind of a challenge, it kind of brings also inner peace. It's like, yeah, it's just because he's got that gait and that line. It's nothing personal about it. It's just who he is.
But is it really that thing expands or you expanding? You're changing, right? So of course, if you would be reading the same book, you know, like let's say one of your favorite books that you read, let's say favorite, whatever that means, 10 years ago, right? And you would read that book now, there would be different perception of that information, knowledge, whatever, those lines of words, right? You would perceive it in a different way. Why? Because you are not the same person. You know, it could be 10 years, but could be just 1 year. It could be just 3 months. Nowadays,
That's why in ancient traditions, they're
right?
reading texts all the time, over and over again. And that's why in human design, I'm always saying when I give a reading that please re-listen to it after a few weeks, then after a few months, then after a few years. Because every time you re-listen, there is this different angle kind of opens up, because the reading, yeah, as we are doing it professionally, is there is no me, there is just the code speaking. And that's the beauty of it, because it's endless in its nature.
I mean, there is a relation. The same would be in music as well, because let's say people who know certain song and they have a relation to certain song, right? To let's say from Estas biography, there would be Golden Dragon. Everybody wants that Golden Dragon, right? But the Golden Dragon eventually became something else, right? Golden Dragon became Internal Flight. And inside Internal Flight, actually, if I listen to Internal Flight, I can break it down to like 20 different pieces, what actually and where they came from. And if I listen to the recording of 2012 of Internal Flight or the Golden Dragon 2011 version, and you listen to what it is today, it's not, but it still has certain essence. It will be there because the original Golden Dragon was recorded in 2007 on the album that sounded like a valse, you know, and it was slow. It was not a fast piece, you know, and then that evolution have taken place, right? Where it evolved into something else and became also electronic kind of internal flight thing, right? And now it becomes a bit completely something else, already a bit rocky kind of internal dragon, right? So if you look at the moving picture of it, it is not the same, right? So it's changing, and then you kind of have maybe perception of a memory, right? There is a memory present, and you would think, oh, I remember that thing from that moment, which is, let's say, 2011, yeah, the chronological time. But that thing has its own space. It's still alive. You can look at it. It still could be inspiring, but it also can push some buttons in some people as well, or it could do whatever it does to anyone listening to it, right? And in the same time, the essence of that will be in whatever to come. Because even the stream, you know, when I watched that stream, recent stream, uh, it was quite an interesting to look into that mirror. Because first of all, you know, I never know how the variation of it will unfold, even though there is some sort of repetition,
Yeah,
right?
I just want to mention that we are talking about the concert basically that you gave on the
Yeah,
Christmas,
yeah,
yeah, YouTube.
after the Christmas. Yeah. So that's like would have some sort of a repetition, but it would be a variation of its own. Yeah? It will have some sort of repetitive motifs, but they would unfold in a different way. And then what it will become later, again, I have no idea. Because this thing is changing. And then that thing is changing, of course, because this thing is changing. And the longer the hermit sits in his cave, I don't know, maybe he wouldn't even want to do that anymore. Maybe he would just say, "Can you hear it?" And everybody would be like, "No." Or, "Yeah." We don't know. Maybe.
I know when I don't know.
Knows? I don't know.
But that's what happens to us when we hear the sounds of eternity. That for everyone this may be a totally different thing. But when the source is talking to you, you can listen to it forever because you are never the same through it. And I guess that's why music so much likes to be repeated. Yeah, repeated. They have this button of repetition on the actual device.
We do. We do. But I'm
There's
not
a lot of
what the
depth in this phenomena of repetition.
yes. But the point of who is listening to eternity. I don't know who is the eternity that listens to eternity. There is this little one running around trying to figure out whatever it's all about. And the little eternity quietly says inside, eternity. Like, wait, let me figure out what is this eternity. And we're gonna keep on running around and trying to figure out. It's and that's part of the repetition. And run, 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 and then it's like you stop for a moment, and then you see yourself running. Oh, then another interesting trip starts when we see ourselves running.
Oh, yeah. Beautiful, beautiful.
Yes, dear.
Wow, that was a nice little journey we had with you. And I'm looking forward. I'm really, really grateful to have you as part of this outstanding event that we are creating together with Christo. Yeah, who is also 2-4, by the way. So there is this call and there is this network, and I will be very, very happy to share that frequency that we're going to co-create as each and every one of us. Yeah, and the greatest teachers, and I'm not afraid to really say this kind of a big word, yeah, but the greatest teachers that we know in the system of human design are going to share their wisdom, their experience, their point of view. You're going to share your music with us and all of that to really kind of let into this us, who we are, to to feel it, to perceive it, to expand in this. And is there anything else to do in this world, in this body, on this planet, which is so beautiful and so ugly at the same time?
Yeah, I mean, there is lots to do, but I am a little bit preoccupied with the unloading part, offloading. you know, That's my preoccupation. I feel it's also for many. The renewal, the rechecking, you know, revisioning, revisiting, all of it, and revisioning, all. But lots to do. Not just run around and be uh, in a state of constant celebration. Maybe also at some point. Be. We've had that a lot, plenty, right? Also, wow, mm, so much. But it's not just that. It's like when the day is over, we go into the night. Then we go in again into the sunrise, and there are cycles. There are times for everything. So I'm looking forward for this experience. Thank you, Julia. Julia. To be continued.
Thank you.